Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is a comparison video between 4 different iems, and this is to help people know what to buy and see what to upgrade to. So without further ado, this is a Kiwi ears Forteza. It has 2 DDs and 1 BA, I believe. The cable is okay, pretty average. And the fit is amazing. It basically just molds to your ear. And then this is a Tangzu Waner, one of my favorite budget sets of all time. And it's one of the best iems I've heard, around 20 bucks, I guess. So I will say the fit of this isn't the best and the cable isn't the best. As you can see, it's not really molded. It's just like a slight bit of an awkward design compared to something like this that actually molds to your ear. So yeah, the Tangzu Waner, decent overall for 20 bucks. Then this is the TinHifi C3. Again, it molds really well to your ear. And the cable is very nice on this. And this is the Simgot Fermat. Really good cable, solid build quality, and pretty decent fit. So the price points of all these iems, so this Kiwi ears is like 60 bucks. This is 20 bucks. This is like 50 or 60 bucks. And this is like a $220 set. So all sort of pretty affordable, I would say. Especially if you're getting up to the iems that are more in the mid-range. 200 bucks for a decent set. It's not that much in my opinion. You can get something pretty good for that price point. So yeah, what I'm going to do is I'm going to break each of these iems down between the bass, mids, and the treble. So which one performs the best for what you guys maybe listen to or what you look for in iem. So let's start off with the bass of all of these iems. So the Kiwi ears, this one has a pretty good sub bass rumble. It has a good quality bass. Overall, it's nothing standout. It just sounds like it's how it's supposed to. And bass is a pretty strong point of this iem. So yeah, I would say it has decent bass, good sub bass rumble, okay mid bass punch. And then the Waner, it's pretty neutral bass. It doesn't have that much sub bass or mid bass. It just sounds pretty neutral. Clean and clear vocals. So yeah, I would say this is more neutral tuned. It doesn't have as much sub bass as the Kiwi ears. And then the C3, this one has, I would say, probably the best sub bass out of all these other iems. This has like a nice, clean, deep, low end rumble. I really like that. So this one is the best for sub bass. If you listen to songs that token those frequencies like rap, hip hop, anything with a lot of bass, this should be good. And then this one, the Simgot, this has the best quality bass out of all these other ones. This has like this tactile mid bass sound, and it's just really deep, and it has a dynamic bass sound. So this has the most dynamic bass sound overall, not just sub bass, but this does mid bass exceedingly well compared to a lot of the other dynamic drivers I've heard. So yeah, overall quality wise, I would say the best bass is the Simgot. It's just tactile, present, never bleeds, well controlled, tight for the most part. Really, really well defined in the drums. And anything that tokens mid bass that doesn't have those other artificial noises, the mid bass is going to really pop out on this IEM. So mid bass could mean more drums, more instruments that are not artificial, I guess. So like, let's say you listen to like, what do you call it? More orchestras that have those little nuances built into the track that pop out from the right and left side. It could be like a hi-hat. It could be anything that sounds more weighty. So sub bass sounds more deep and in the background, but mid bass is like more forward in your ears and you could hear the impact more. So this has the best impact. But strictly speaking, sub bass and being bassy, this one is the best one. But the quality on the Simgot is better. So that's that. And then let's talk about the mids now. So the Kiwi ears, to my ears, it had sort of like a thin mid-range. I wasn't getting like a clear body. It sounded really thin and trebly. And I did try different tips, so it was just the tuning. I think it has this like peak somewhere. I would say maybe around the 6, 7, or 8K. So it sounds like the vocals, like the male vocals, I'm not getting the best body out of them. It sort of sounds thin and slightly sharp. And then with female vocals, it just sounds not as clear to me. So the mids on this IEM are just okay, like average, I would say, compared to the other sets I've heard in this price point. Nothing that shocks me. And then the mids on the Waner, I think they're just tuned better than the Kiwi ears. The Waner just has a really good body for male and female voices. It sounds really natural. It does sound more natural than the Kiwi ears. So yeah, this is just solid for 20 bucks. Honestly, if you're on a budget, just get the Waner. It's the best I've heard personally. So yeah, this has a solid balanced mid-range with a slight bit of mid-bass. So it adds some warmth to vocals and stuff. Not too much, just a little bit. And then the treble. Oh yeah, I'm not going to talk about the treble yet. Let me finish the mids, then I'll get into the treble. So yeah, really good mid-range. Just solid, neutral. Works well for basically any genre. And then the mids on the TinHifi C3. The TinHifi C3 has this really warm mid-range. It makes the vocals sound really warm, and everything's pretty warm on this IEM. So if you want a warmer tune set, this might be it, because it has solid sub bass, smooth treble, and then the mids just pop out. Really, really warm and forward. Not really harsh, so solid mid-range. And then the Simgot, this has an exceptional mid-range. Vocals just sound really, really nuanced and clear, forward, just right where you want them to be. So yeah, this is solid. I mean, it does male and female voices. The voices aren't overly thick, but they're not thin either. So it's just well placed. How well the mids sound with instruments, pianos, guitar, keyboards. It just has this really good sense of body and weight to the mid-range. And that mid-bass adds a lot more weight on this than some of these other pairs while retaining that clarity without it sounding muddy. That's solid. So if I had to pick which one has the best mids out of all of these, I would say the Simgot is the best, hands down. None of these other ones have that level of clarity and that vocal nuance and the texture. For example, this one sounds slightly too warm in the mids, slightly too muddy. And then the Waner, it's good, but it's not the most clear sounding. It sounds like a typical DD that doesn't do anything too special. And then the Kiwi ears, to me, it just didn't really perform that well in the treble. It was sort of harsh and slightly fatiguing, not refined enough. So yeah, those are the few things. And then, so yeah, mids, I would say the Simgot wins, hands down. It's not really close, the performance this has. And this is one of the best dynamic drivers I've ever heard. It's better tuned than the IE600. After this came out, I think the IE600 is pretty outdated quick, because this has a more open soundscape and it has a similar amount of layering and separation. And the treble on this is the best I've heard, hands down, on a dynamic driver. So yeah, let's talk about the treble. The Kiwi, like I said, it just has like a harsh treble. It's not really smooth or well extended. It sounds slightly one note. So yeah, I would say the main key point of this IEM is probably the bass. Like, it has a decent bass, but the mids and treble need some work, more refinements. And then the treble on the Waner is pretty smooth. You get decent vocal clarity and inflections. TinHifi C3, the treble, I wish it was a little more extended, more clear for those vocals. And then the Simgot's treble, it just smokes these other three pairs. With the Simgot, I'm getting like this cold air of breeze in the treble. And I've never heard a dynamic driver IEM that could do that. And this is the first one. So this is getting closer to that balanced armature performance, but this still retains like that natural sound of a dynamic driver. So overall, this sounds really natural, cohesive, and all dynamic drivers have this like smoothness around the notes, and this has that, but it's very well extended, not lacking in the treble at all. So with this one, you want to listen at like mid volumes, mid to lower, and once you find the correct volume, it's just going to sound amazing on all orchestras, all instruments, especially that are in the mid bass, those guitars, that weight in the mid bass, that slam. It's just amazing. So yeah, so like, which one sounds the most dynamic out of all of these? I would say the TinHifi C3 is dynamic in the sub bass, and the Simgot is dynamic in the mid bass and overall weightiness of the mids. So I would say these two are definitely the best in terms of bass performance. Now let's talk about a little bit about soundstage and imaging. So the Waner has a pretty closed in sound. It's not the most well separated, or it's giving me a sense of it being wide and open on orchestra tracks where everything's painted pretty nicely. With the Waner, it sounds pretty average, like decent. With the Kiwi ears, the soundstage, it sounds kind of warm, and then the mids are like, the placement of the mids is kind of weird. It sounds kind of wonky, and then the treble's slightly harsh, so I didn't get like a sense of open airiness. And with this, you don't want to turn the volume too high at all, because it sounds too harsh. Just can't listen to it for too long. So yeah, and then the C3, again, it sounds slightly more closed in, because it has that mid bass and that sub bass and an overall really warm sound. So because it sounds warm, you're going to miss out on like that treble sparkle. It doesn't have that extra treble sparkle. And then the EA1000 Fermat, this is amazing, guys. For a dynamic driver to sound this well separated, it gives you like pockets of sound. And I haven't heard this in another dynamic driver IEM, because the treble's so clear and extended, so you hear those small micro nuances pop out very, very well. So everything just sounds really twinkly and sparkly on this, while retaining a smooth characteristic. So I would say this is like a baby Helios almost. But the Helios has better sub bass and smoother treble and whatnot. But For 200 bucks, this is solid, guys. I don't think you're going to find a better dynamic driver than this from what I've heard. So it's just amazing. And then, yeah, so overall, like, if you have something cheap like the Waner or something under 100 bucks and you want a solid upgrade, maybe try the Simgot if you like that extended treble for orchestras. And if you listen to smoother, well-recorded tracks, the Simgot's going to do amazing. So it does have a passive radiator that fires out also. So that's firing sounds at the same time as the other driver. So I think maybe that's what's creating this sense of wideness. I'm not sure, but it just sounds amazing. So yeah, for this to have that good of a treble performance is shocking, guys. I mean, I'm getting vocal, air, and nuance out of a dynamic driver. So the way they work this is amazing. Just solid. So yeah, overall, if I had to rate all of them, I would say this is the best one, hands down. And then I would say the C3 is really good. Waner, these two are about the same. And then the Kiwi ears is in last place. So hopefully that was helpful, guys. If you have any questions, let me know. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Take care.